today I just want to talk to you about some of the opportunities and benefits that you can have in an intern at the IRS. And perhaps by the end of my presentation, some of you all might decide to apply for an internship there. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my job and what I do every day, some of the desirable and undesirable aspects of my job, the culture there, and also the benefits that they offer to interns. And something that many of you may not know about the IRS in Beckley is that they have absolutely nothing to do with collecting taxes from taxpayers. In fact, the main function of the Beckley IRS is to pay all of the bills that the entire IRS organization incurs. And there are many departments there, and I work in the relocation department. And my department basically, whenever a government executive or a criminal investigator relocates, depending on the type of relocation, the government will reimburse them for certain expenses related to their move. And the relocation process begins when the employee fills out their voucher for whatever expense it is that they're claiming. They will then send the voucher into us, and we'll perform a voucher audit on it. And this is when we go through the voucher and make sure that they've claimed everything that they're allowed to claim, and make sure that they don't claim anything that they're not allowed to claim. And after we complete the audit, we will enter the information into our systems. The systems will interface overnight, and then the payment will be deposited into their bank account within a few days. Now I want to go over some of the desirable aspects of my job. And the first thing I really enjoy is corresponding with the people that are relocating. Throughout the entire relocation process, you really correspond with these people a lot, just answering their questions and helping them put together their vouchers. And you really get to know them on a personal level. And most of them are just so friendly and so nice and just willing to help you out. And that just makes your job so much easier when the people that you work with every day are agreeable. I also enjoy the opportunity to help people, going the extra mile to answer a question, helping someone put together their voucher, finding reimbursable expenses that perhaps they overlooked. All of these things create very satisfied customers, and as I was saying before, that makes them more willing to help you, and it just makes your job easier as a whole. I also enjoy auditing the vouchers themselves. No two vouchers that come in are ever the same. There's exceptions to every rule, and I've come across something I've never seen before pretty much every day. So it can be very challenging and sometimes tedious to complete the voucher audit and make sure that everything's going to be paid correctly, but I enjoy the challenge. And then another aspect of my job that's beneficial, although not particularly enjoyable for me, is the opportunity to facilitate meetings. And everyone in my unit takes turns facilitating the monthly meeting. And I had my turn about a month ago, and I had to put together the agenda, send out the invites, facilitate the actual meeting, and then also type up the meeting minutes afterwards. And this was a challenging experience for me because I don't really enjoy getting up in front of people and talking or being in charge of things. But it was a very good experience because as a business major, it's very likely that at some point in your career, you're going to be called on to facilitate a meeting. So that was a good experience. And then I also really enjoy collaborating with the people in my unit on things outside of our day-to-day work. For example, the IRS has charity competitions every year where every unit competes to see who can raise the most money for their chosen charity. So we've been doing things like bake sales, competitions, games, raffles, and things like that. And it's just really fun to get together and work on those things. And then the IRS also has other random competitions throughout the year that have nothing to do with charity. For example, last month we had a pumpkin decorating contest, and the unit with the best pumpkin got to leave an hour early from work that week. So that was fun to do. And I really enjoy activities like this because I feel like they really promote a good sense of teamwork. They take some of the seriousness out of your day-to-day job and just make it more fun. And now I'm going to talk about some of the undesirable aspects of my job. And the first thing is delivering bad news. And every once in a while, an employee will submit a voucher where they've claimed something that you're not allowed to pay them for. And so you get the fun job of telling them, hey, we're not going to be able to reimburse you for this expense. And some of the employees can get kind of irate and upset about that, so that can be hard to deal with. And then there's documentation. We are required to document everything that we do at the IRS. If the rule of thumb at the IRS is that if it's not documented, it never happened. And not only do you have to document the files that you keep at your desk, but you also have to go into their online systems and document everything there as well. So you're doing a lot of double work, and it can be time consuming, and it's also easy to forget to do it, so that can be hard to deal with. And then there's also compiling reports. Every so often, our managers will ask us to put together information for them so that they can give it to their superiors. And again, this just can be very time consuming. It takes you away from your day-to-day work, and it can put you behind. Now I wanted to tell you a little bit about the culture at the IRS. And the first thing that I noticed when I began working there was just how friendly everyone is. They were very welcoming, and they made me feel like part of the unit right away. When I first began working there, I was getting ready to get married, and they threw me a party, they got me a cake, and they got me a gift card, and it was just so thoughtful, and it really made me feel like I was a part of their team right off the bat. And after you've worked there for a while, the people become more than just friendly, they actually become your friends, and that just makes your job so much better when you feel like you're working among friends. Another aspect of the culture there is how helpful everyone is. I've never worked at a job where people are so willing to just answer any question you have, sit down with you, and walk you through a process that perhaps you're not familiar with. And through it all, they're just so cheerful and good-natured about it. The culture of the IRS is also very professional. The people there are serious about doing their job and about providing the best possible customer satisfaction. But while it's professional, it's also very fun. As I mentioned before, they have those competitions and contests and things like that. And pretty much at any point in the day, you can hear someone laughing somewhere in the building about something. And there's just a really great sense of camaraderie there. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the part that everybody always wants to know about. What are the benefits offered to interns at the IRS? And the first thing is just awesome future employment opportunities. You're getting valuable career experience that can benefit you at any job that you go into after you complete the internship, whether it's continuing your career at the IRS or going to another organization. And you can also learn how to interact with coworkers and other people in a professional environment. And then they also offer you the opportunity to continue your career at the IRS. After you've completed your internship, if the organization has determined that you're a good fit, they will offer you a full-time job. And there's a very high conversion rate for IRS interns. I think nearly all of the interns that complete the program there are offered a full-time job. So that's awesome, coming out of college with confidence that you're going to have a good job. They also offer you flexible scheduling. They will work with your school schedule. They realize that as students, school has to be our priority. And the building is open from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening, and you can schedule your shift anytime in between those hours. And they also let you decide how many hours a week you want to work. I think interns there can work anywhere from 20 to 40 hours a week. So you don't have to work full-time if you don't feel like you can handle that with your school schedule. And you can also change your schedule for school-related events. For example, I usually work all day on Tuesdays, but since I have my presentation this morning, they let me have today off. The IRS also offers very competitive pay. As a senior entering the program, you'll make $14.50 an hour, which translates to over $31,000 a year, which is pretty good income for a college student. And every year, you'll also receive cost of living raises to prevent inflation from decreasing your income. They also have great insurance benefits. They offer good health insurance at a very decent price. My husband and I, we have Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and it's been a very good plan for us with really good coverage. They also offer great life insurance coverage for a very low price. I think we have $100,000 worth of coverage for under $10 a month, so that's pretty good. And then the best monetary benefit I believe that they offer is what's called the thrift savings plan. And this is just sort of their version of a 401k, where you can opt to have money deducted from your paycheck towards your retirement. And you can have as much deducted as you want, but for the first 3%, they'll match it dollar for dollar. And then the next 2%, they'll match 50 cents on the dollar. So that's up to 4% of your paycheck that they will contribute to your retirement. That's just free money for you. And these are just the benefits that I've opted into. They offer many more. I know they have vision and dental insurance, and also multiple other savings plans that you can opt into. And another benefit of working there is all the time off that you can get. There are two different types of time off that you earn as you work there. The first type is annual leave, which this is the kind of leave that you can take at any time for any reason, and you're going to earn 1 hour for every 20 hours that you work, which translates to 4 hours per pay period. And then the second type of leave is sick leave, which is for illness or medical related reasons. And this is like annual leave. It will accrue 1 hour for every 20 hours you work and 4 hours per pay period. And then of course you get weekends off, which that's really nice to know that you have a 2-day break coming every week. And you also receive paid holidays off. And I looked at the calendar for next year, and I believe they built in 9 paid holidays off into 2011. So when you combine that with your annual leave, that's like over 3 weeks off paid. The last benefit I want to talk to you about is just a great work environment. You know, all the monetary benefits I've been talking about mean very little if you're miserable at your job or if the atmosphere is negative or depressing. And at the IRS, you're going to have coworkers who are willing to help you learn. It's a very professional atmosphere, and it's an environment where people are serious about their job and helping a customer. And you also just gain the personal satisfaction of knowing that the work you're doing is making a difference and it's meaningful. So I would really encourage those of you who are considering perhaps doing an internship as a junior or senior to really think about applying at the IRS, because it's a great environment with awesome benefits, and it's going to give you a career experience that you can use anywhere you go after you graduate. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Were you paired up with someone when you were undergoing your internship, or did they just let you go?
Well, at first, for about the first 2 months that I was there, I sat at a desk with one of the people I work with and just watched them, you know, do their day-to-day work. And my department is really complicated. Some of the other departments, I don't think they require quite as much training. But yeah, I sat with someone for about 2 months, and then they gave me my own inventory and let me work on my own. But even at that point, even after they let me begin working on my own, my work still had to be screened by someone. They had to review it and make sure that everything was okay. But after doing that for about another month, then they let me just begin working completely on my own.
Okay. And I have a little question for you. The transition process from the interview to the time that you started, what was that like? Because I know there's a series of background checks and things. And when did you know that you started?
Like after the interview, when did I know that I was going to start the job? That part was after I had my interview, I honestly did not hear from them for probably about 3 months. So I didn't know that I even got the internship until 3 months later. And then after that point, and I think I had my interview, I'm trying to think late fall or perhaps December, I'm not sure. But then I didn't start working until March. So there's quite a bit of time between your interview and hearing that you're actually going to get the job. So. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you, Amy. This is a closing comment. They are entertaining applicants, so if anybody's interested, you can email me or stop by, call me, and I'll give you the details. Thank you.
My name's Pauley, and I did an internship this past summer at FMC Corporation. Their headquarters in Philadelphia. And the way I came across this internship was actually through a cousin of mine, which goes to show you that it helps to have contacts and networking skills. I mean, get out there and meet people, and don't underestimate anyone that you've met, and ask them about the potential of anybody they might know that can help you out with their internship. You wouldn't believe who knows who. And be persistent. I had to stay on top of my cousin and the woman, June Parsons, at FMC that she put me in contact with. my resume stay on top of time. In securing your internship position, you need to take appropriate steps. You need to research the company before you go into your interview. Know about what they do and who they are, just so you have a better idea, and the manager can tell, or whoever you're interviewing with can tell that you're really interested in this position. And if they give it to you, you're going to work hard. Interviewing skills, of course, is a big thing. Make eye contact, and don't be afraid to speak to this person just as you would speak to anyone else. Brief company background here. The company was founded in 1883, so it's been around for a while. By John Bean. He started it as a bean spray pump company just for pesticides and insecticides. A few years later, in 1928, they became a food machinery company, which is originally where they got the FMC from. And then later that year, in 1928, the way they came up with this name was actually through a contest. I mean, I don't know too many companies anymore that held contests to say, hey, what do you want our name? So I thought that was kind of interesting. Jump ahead a few years. In 1948, they acquired a insecticide and fungicide company and became a Food Machinery Chemical Corporation, which is what FMC stands for. In the late 50s and early 60s, they started expanding into the global market, into countries like Japan and Brazil and England, and really started to diversify their market. In the mid to late 70s, they acquired a company called Marine Pauley Incorporated, which was at the time the world's foremost producer in carrageenan, which I'm sure none of you know what that is, but we'll get to that later. It might be a little disturbing. By the mid-90s, 94, 95, they were seeing sales growth of, sales of $4.5 to $5 billion. So they have been expanding their product lines, and we're really starting to make a name for themselves in the global industrial chemical market. Then in 2000 and 2001, they decided it would be best if they split their division into FMC Corporation and a separate publicly traded company called FMC Technologies, which dealt just entirely with machinery. So the FMC Corporation today is only food and chemicals. Today, FMC operates in all 6 inhabitable continents. Their worldwide reach is vast. They have production facilities and sales facilities in just about every country or area of the world that you would think about. The divisional breakdown of the company, they have 3 divisions: agricultural products, specialty chemicals, and industrial chemicals. Agricultural products, they make herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. Basically, they can kill any kind of little pest or critter that you could ever want to. If you are interested in it for some reason, go on their website and they have just an extensive list of anything that you might need to eradicate. Specialty chemicals. It's broken down into 2 divisions: biopolymer and lithium. Biopolymer is broken down into 3 more divisions: food, pharmaceutical, and personal care. And you might wonder why I have a picture of seaweed and that's actually wood pulp. It's because seaweed and wood pulp are in more of your foods and medicines than you might think. What I mentioned earlier, carrageenan, is actually a refined seaweed, and alginates are another division of that. But it's in more things than you could ever possibly imagine, like Jell-O, or if you buy packaged meat from Walmart, it has that like gel around it. That's actually seaweed. Sorry to ruin your lunch. And pharmaceuticals, say you take a baby aspirin, an aspirin that's 5 milligrams, but the tablet is obviously considerably larger than, or heavier than 5 milligrams. The rest of that makeup is actually wood pulp in most cases. I was fortunate enough to get to tour FMC's facility in Ewing, New Jersey, where they test a lot of their agricultural products, pesticides and herbicides, and they actually make the little tablets out of wood pulp. So I got to see that being made. It was really pretty interesting. I had no idea. And personal care, ladies, a lot. You've heard surely that fish scales and whatnot go into lipstick, but seaweed and whatnot actually goes into like a lot of eyeliners and powder type makeup. The other section of specialty chemicals is lithium. Lithium, as everybody's probably aware, goes into batteries and AA batteries, computer, cell phone batteries. But it also has a wide variety of other uses. And industrial chemicals. Most of these are relatively unknown to the general public, but a few of the more common ones are hydrogen peroxide, soda ash, caustic soda. Hydrogen peroxide obviously has its home medical purposes, clean out cuts and wounds and whatnot. But there are other more industrial uses for it to clean things. Soda ash is actually a key component in making glass. If FMC didn't produce soda ash, then there probably wouldn't be a lot of the glass windows they would have to find other producers. And caustic soda, which I'm sure no one's ever heard of, it actually goes into several things like oil drilling and cleaning. It's used in the production of detergents and fuel processing. Finally, my positions and duties at FMC Corporation. I've worked in their legal department in their Philadelphia headquarters. And what primary project they had me working on was their records retention project. So you imagine this huge multinational corporation has to have lawyers for pretty much everything they do. But actually for the entire company, there are only about 15 lawyers that take care of everything. But these 15 people can come up with an intense amount of documents. Right? They have to document, contract, everything. And of course, they don't have time to go through and do cleanup on the documents that they don't need to keep anymore, or maybe expired. So that was kind of my project. I'd sit down with one of the attorneys. He would give me a list and explain, these are documents that our computer system says may be deleted, but we're not really sure. We need somebody to go through all of them and make sure that we don't need to hang on to these or something. So I would pull and review documents to make sure they didn't have some sort of clause in them, like an evergreen clause, which means that the contract renews from year to year without expiring. Even though it may have an expiration date, and it says, the contract's evergreen, then we have to keep it until we get further word that it means. So then I would have to make a decision on each one of these files. Okay, do I need to delete this file? Do I need to re-enter it into the system as a different expiration date, or do I need to mark it as permanent? Then finally I take action. Correct what needs to be corrected in the system, or just delete and shred the files. At first I didn't really think this was an extremely important decision. I was like, man, this is so boring. I'm just sitting here reading files all day. Then I realized, without these documents, where I make a mistake and I delete a document that shouldn't have been deleted. Say the document says it's expired, but I didn't see the retention policy for that one that says, you know, after it's expired, you have to wait 6 years before you can throw it away. If I didn't see that and I went ahead and shredded it, deleted it, and a year or two later, litigation comes up on this document and somebody has a problem, wants to take FMC to court over it, we don't have any proof of it. We don't have any proof that contract ever existed. So that could really put FMC in a bind. And I didn't realize until a couple weeks in that, you know, my position was actually meaningful. And I held a significant amount of power. That was just my main project that I was working on here and there. They had me working on other projects. My manager, June, called me in one day and said, one of our board members has sold off, you know, so many thousand shares of stock, and for the legal reporting purposes, I need to know how much the stock is sold for per share. Which I was like, okay, you know, this shouldn't be too bad. Until she handed me the papers, and of the 30,000 shares of stock that this board member sold, they had to sell it in increments of 100 or 200 shares each. Each one selling, you know, of course, at a different price. So I had to make up a spreadsheet, enter all the data, figure out the weighted average price at which the stock sold. Other projects were the closing room. This is where they put a lot of documents on files that they have to keep indefinitely. Say they acquired a company or acquired a certain piece of land. These documents they need to keep forever. So this closing room was in complete disarray, and I was tasked to put it together one week. And yeah, it took me basically the entire week to get this thing in order. But how you can actually finance that. Things that helped me succeed in the position were, of course, some of the classes I've taken here at Concord. Business law, if any of you have taken that, you know, you spent basically the last month of the class with John David reviewing contracts. That came in real handy for my position. They weren't the same type of contracts that were reviewed in class, but I was still familiar with the terminology and made things like. So, business communication, and it really just helped with people skills, know how to write formal but informal emails and letters when you had to communicate with people in other departments to, you know, in my case, find out, you know, whether or not this contract is still valid or, you know, how to handle it. Business ethics. I didn't realize when I first went into this position, like, how you feel the ethics of the situation all the way down the ladder of the corporation. You know, obviously managers have a lot of ethical decisions to make, but I didn't realize that, you know, even people in the entry-level positions have majorly ethical decisions. For instance, I was reviewing some documents and I came across a stack of them that had retired employees' social security numbers and bank account information. And so I took it to my manager and I was like, I don't know what to do with these, you know, I don't think you need to keep them anymore, but I don't want to throw them into these secure gray bins that just toss all the rest of the files in. That would eventually go to an incinerator, but, you know, that's not entirely safe. So I took it upon myself to just go ahead and manually shred it. So these people's information didn't get out there and have that in. And principles of management. We talked a lot about, or talked some in that class about, you know, empowerment as a management strategy. And I really felt that, you know, while I was at FMC, that they trusted me to take on this big project. And, you know, makes you feel good about yourself that, you know, other people were out there relying on you. Of course, personal characteristics. You have to be willing to do the work no matter what it is. You have to be diligent in what you're doing. Just to go out there and give your best effort every day. And a positive attitude really helps, because, I mean, if you come into the office every day and you're just like, man, I'm here, you know, I'm going to do my work, but I really don't feel like it. I mean, people are going to see that. And they're going to think less of you because, you know, you're just not happy to be doing what you're doing. A few few last words. As I said before, networking is really important. I met so many people while I was working at FMC. A lot of them I still try to keep in contact with because I know later in life these contacts could prove to be very useful. You need to be assertive but willing to take orders. Get out there and find. If you're done with your project, you need to find something else that you need to be doing. Don't be afraid to go to your manager and say, what do I need to do, and have them tell you something. Don't underestimate yourself because you can do pretty much anything you want to do. I know it's kind of cliche, but you really can. And the experience as a whole. About this, I can't really describe the entire experience I had while I was working in my internship because it wasn't just being at the company and doing the day-to-day work. It's more of an experience of being in Philadelphia and working in a larger city, which I'm born and raised in West Virginia. It hasn't really been, we don't have big cities, obviously. So the experience as a whole, riding the train into work every day and taking a cab from somewhere if you need to get somewhere. It's just kind of different living in that environment. Questions?
Thank you, Matt.
I'm Johnathan Belcher, and I interned at CNX Gas in Claypool, Virginia. CNX Gas was started by Consol Energy in 2005. A little bit of background about Consol. Consol has been in operation since 1860, and since then they have produced 3.5 billion tons of coal. And they have always, since the 1980s, degassed the coal mines to make it safe for the miners to operate in the mines. And they've always blown this methane gas to the atmosphere. And in 2005, they decided to establish CNX Gas and capture this methane and in turn sell it and get into the natural gas market. And they currently control 1.4 trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserves, and they produce a daily net of 245 million cubic feet a day. They have operations in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, of course, all throughout West Virginia and Virginia Railroad. Of course, they said they extract and sell natural gas. They provide services to the coal mine, and the big mine in Virginia Buchanan mine. And I was fortunate to take a tour of that mine. It's really neat. It's a really huge mine. They got stop signs, stop lights. It's like an underground city. And CNX Gas, what they do is they drill down to the coal seam and fracture that seam under high pressure and pull that gas out to make it safe for the miners. And I know y'all know about the upper big branch of the Massey, where they put into a pocket full of methane. It's really unfortunate. I was placed in the gas measurement department in Baker Hill, and I worked with 8 measurement technicians. My main jobs was to service, calibrate, install total flow gas meters. And we also pull orifice plates, and I'll get to that later. But I was responsible for 2 reports. On a day-to-day basis, I would come in early in the morning and I would do daily production reports. And what that is I work with special software and Microsoft Excel and formulate production on a day-to-day basis on what gas that was produced each day from all of our stations. And I would get these reports approved by our vice president and general manager there in the field before I would send them up to Pittsburgh when they would, but it was reviewed by my senior manager up there. Monthly volume reports, those every first of the month, each measurement technician is responsible for a set number of gas meters, and they have to bring a whole month's worth of data on each meter in the field. And that data is sent to our allocation department, which pay royalties to our landowners. That these wells are the property that they own, the property that the wells are on, so they get a monthly check on how much gas is produced. But like I said, I work with CCU software, daily reports, and field activities. By the end of the summer, I was able to service, install, and calibrate gas flow meters. Here is a screenshot of the program I worked with all summer. It's just a database that has all these are groups of all wells and stations. And we have about 2,600 meters in the field in the southwestern Virginia, and about 300 stations. The wells will flow to a station, and that station will take it to a compressor site, and then send it to our sales point. Here's the names of the meters. Right now we're looking, I think that's well M50, and I'm getting ready to put a status on it. And I'm trying to communicate with this well. And there's 2 ways to communicate with it. We've got fiber optics and radio. And communications is real important. Once I communicate with this well, it can tell me everything that's happening at the well at that time. How much gas is being pushed through, what are the pressures, everything a measurement tech would need. Okay, this is when you get status on it. This menu will pull up, and you can see this meter was reading the static pressure and differential pressure. Static pressure is just PSI. It's what's in your car tire. Just air pressure. Differential pressure is reading about 445. That is your inches of water column. And the gas meter will take those 2 parameters and calculate gas quality. And give you a flow. And all you're looking for is you're just troubleshooting. If you have problems, just will say you have problems, and you have to go out and fix them. Just restoring communications is pretty much the main job. Lightning strikes is real bad. It'll fry mid-meter. Each meter costs about $2,500. And remember when I said about the monthly reports, this is data, looks like a little bit of May and June, day-to-day data. And that's what you get together each at the end of each month. So you have to update your wells every day. Here's how you actually collect data from the office. And if it's not communicating, you have to manually go out and collect it yourself with a laptop. Here's your standard well site. These wells run, they go down anywhere from 800 to 1,200 feet. I think what came in mind is about 1,200 feet below the surface. You have your jack, which runs on a electric motor on a timer, and what this does is it pumps water out. And when you pump the water out, the gas will come with it. So the water will come out this discharge line, and the water goes to these big tanks. All around our property, there's tanks at every location, and we have water trucks that run 24/7. And this water has got chemicals in it where we use to dig the well and fracture the well. So we don't want to put that back in the environment. So the water truck will take that to treatment facility. And your gas will come up and run through this right here where your meter sits on. Here's a picture of the well here. And I just said the water will come through this discharge. The gas will come through and run on this meter. And here's the total gas meter. It sits on a manifold here with valves. You can shut it off, and you won't disrupt gas flow through the bucket. And that's how we make sure our meters are in calibration. We have to calibrate our meters once a year and calibrate our stations twice a year to make sure they're reading correct numbers. Oh, and orifice plates. You're actually looking at it from behind. On the other side, you take a socket wrench and pull out this orifice plate. And all it is stainless steel plate that has a hole in it. They come in different sizes. And that controls your differential pressure. And you got to pull them out once a year and make sure there's no salt buildup. That could make the pressure skyrocket. You can get bad number. Here's the internal components of the meter. It says it's $2,500. Every time it gets hit, all I need is we have surge protectors to try to help with lightning strikes. Here's your communications chip, so you can connect with the CCU software. And they run on 12-volt batteries. That's what runs the unit. And of course, they're being charged by a solar panel. But I don't know how many times you pull up on a well site and the battery's gone. We have a lot of problems with thieves stealing all kinds of stuff. They're actually stealing pipe and everything. Calibration equipment, real simple. This is real expensive stuff too. You just hook like a bicycle pump up to it right here, and you're basically telling the meter what to read and when it senses this type of pressure. Just make sure it's in good calibration so it reads accurately. That's pretty much it. I had a great experience at CNX Gas. I met a lot of great people. I hope to land a full-time position. Any questions?
Are they publicly traded or part of Consult? CNX, is it?
Oh, they're part of Concord.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jonathan.